Matthew here from miniwargaming.com, and it's time for another Sit and Talk. And I know I haven't done these for the past couple weeks. We just were on holidays pretty much. Worked a couple days each of the weeks during the holidays, did some battle reports, but didn't have a full week as normal. I had one person email me, and after saying that they really liked the vault, kind of gave me a minor scolding for not warning people that we'd be not putting up as much content because he was ready to watch a lot of content in the holidays. Well, I can assure you we'll never do that again, because even though we had less content on the holidays, we had an increase in viewers and an increase in vault signups, which tells me that there was more people during the holidays watching, which I didn't expect. And I know you might think, well, duh, it's the holidays, people are home. But it tends that when there's times when people have time, that's actually when they watch YouTube videos less. Like during the summer, for example, that's when people are watching less and buying less, and they're out doing other stuff. And so I guess during the Christmas holidays, I've learned a very important lesson, and that is that we should definitely have at least as much content as we normally have, but we'll probably actually start doing some Christmas special, like an awesome narrative campaign that all goes out in 1 week or 2 weeks or something, because there was just it was obviously a very popular time, and we missed out on that. So I apologize for any of you who felt a bit of a withdrawal because we didn't put up as many videos. And but we do have the Sit and Talk now back every week. I don't see any reason that I won't be doing it for an indefinite amount of time. So the Sit and Talk is an Ask Me Anything show where you ask me anything about anything, wargaming, business. It might even get personal, like talking about religion or politics. So if you're easily offended by topics of religion, please do not watch this. I don't know if it's going to come up today. It's all based on your questions, but I will answer them. Of course, if you want to ask me detailed religious questions, I won't really go into huge details on the show because, well, I don't want to spend too much time on that, because it's going to be primarily about wargaming and maybe about business and stuff like that. So you can email me, though, because I'm happy to answer any religious questions. Just email Matthew@miniwargaming.com. And that's Matthew with 2 T's, not 1 T. And of course, if you want your comment or question answered, make sure you leave it in the comment section below on the Mini Wargaming website, not on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the video description below when you want to leave a comment. That'll take you to the page where you can leave a comment. It's just so I can easily print them off. And I get way more than I need just on our Mini Wargaming site, so I don't need to reference the YouTube ones as well. And then while you're there, make sure you thumb up any questions that you want to be answered, because what I do is I go through the top 10, roughly, top voted questions, and then I take random questions after that. So whether you were the first to post or the last to post, you have an equal chance of getting your question answered. And so that also means that since they're random, if you post 2 comments in a row and there's some sort of continuity between them, I won't get that because they're going to be random. So make sure you put everything in that you need in one comment. Of course, you can put a second comment with a different question if you like. So let's go. Now, hello, Matt. I'd like to talk to you about Dave's newest mini campaign. Now, this time, he had just started a new one that you would have seen yesterday, the Flea-Ridden Scrap Vidas, which is the Captain Slaughter's Rejects narrative campaign. But the one that now is referring to is the special mini campaign that was Khorne versus White Scars. I personally thought it was great, fun, and packed full of energy. People are being rude, giving out about enthusiasm and energy and roaring. To me, that's how these games should be played. I love, love, love Dave's reports. They're fun, which is what this hobby is. Yeah, I noticed that there was some negative comments. There's also a ton of positive comments, too. People did like the narrative campaign, but others didn't like how much he was like making voices and yelling and stuff. But that's Dave's style, and a lot of people like that. And so, yeah, we've always had this kind of split style between Dave and myself, and now we have others as well. But I was more on the analytical side of things, and he was more on like the banter and crazy side of things. There's been we've moved towards each other's styles more. I've gotten more into the banter, and he's gotten obviously more into the analytical stuff as well. But there's still this obvious difference between the two. And some people like one style over the other. Some people really like Dave's style, and other people really don't. And some people like my style, and some people really don't. And I only wish that at this moment we could afford to have 20 different producers for each game that we cover. And that way you can not only get lots of content in the game that you like, but find the style of presentation that you like as well. But obviously that's not really feasible. And even as we grow, most likely we won't ever have that kind of numbers, or those kind of numbers in a single game. It'll be just a few producers. So yeah, it's kind of something that either you like or you get used to. I know for me, for StarCraft battle reports, it was something I had to get used to, and then once I got used to, I loved. Because I remember watching my very first StarCraft battle report, and the guys were in the back are going, and the zealot's going up, and he said he's going to get it, he's going to get it, oh, he got it! And I was kind of embarrassed to be watching, because I'm like, this is StarCraft, guys, not a sport. But then as I got used to it, I then started to really like the enthusiasm that the casters would put into it. Or HD Husky, and just kind of the wackiness. At first it was just kind of like, okay, this is kind of wacky. But then once I got used to it, I kind of really liked it. And then compared to other casters, I found that I liked that style. So it's also something just to get used to as well. So the people, okay, so I'll skip over that. My question from Noah, if I brought a 30K army, Adeptus Mechanicus, would you play against it? The answer is absolutely yes. That would be so much fun and be so awesome. See, when we play our battle reports, especially the narrative ones, but any of the battle reports, it's definitely not your tournament style or your win-at-all-cost style. It's friendly. And with friendly battle reports or friendly games, it opens up a world of possibilities. And all of a sudden, as long as you're both being friendly about it, and one of you is not just being like a win-at-all-cost player, you can basically try out different things. You can combine 30K and 40K. You can try out different ally combinations. You could do all sorts of things and have fun with it. And so I would definitely want to play against it, not just be willing to play against it. Thanks, Steve. Sorry if I'm sounding a little congested. I'm kind of getting over. I've had this cough for like over 2 weeks throughout the holidays. And there's been some days where for some reason my nose has been congested, so I'll sound a little nasally, so I apologize for that. Arablo, 92. Hey Matt, so how did your wife take it when you told her, hey, I'm quitting my stable job to open a store, an online store, and basically play Warhammer all day? And how do major changes in business like closing down your store affect your home life? Or do you try and keep what happens at work and home separate? Keep up the great work and enjoy the holidays. Because I'm pretty sure if I told my girlfriend that she would probably think I've gone crazy. She's always been hugely supportive of it. My mini wargaming was not my first business. In fact, when I first quit my stable job, which was working in a call center doing roadside assistance, and doing sales and service and that, so when people will call and want to cancel their membership or want to sign up or just need a tow, I'd be answering for that. It was a good job. I was thinking this was like years ago, and by the time I left, I was making like $17 to $18 an hour, which I thought was ridiculously good for a student job back when minimum wage was still $7. Now in Ontario, it's 11, which I know for some people would be like, oh, that's really high, but that's what it is. In Ontario right now, the minimum wage is $11. Anyways, while I was working there, I started my internet marketing business, and that started to take off to the point where I felt that I could comfortably quit my job and make more money, spending more of my time in the business. And she was fine with that. And in fact, the month we got married, which was April 2005, yeah, because we're coming up to our 10-year this April, is also the month that I actually officially registered my business, Glanfield Marketing Solutions. And now it's Mini Wargaming Inc. It's changed a couple times, but that's my very first business. And she was fine. She supported it. And it did pretty well for the first while. We went through some hurdles. Like I had to learn that when you make a lot of money one year, you get a huge tax bill. And that actually really caused a lot of problems because I wasn't ready for this big tax bill. And that happened to be during a year that I wasn't making a lot of money. And at first I was working at home, but we didn't have any kids for the first few years of our marriage. So there was those dynamics where I kind of worked whenever. And then eventually I had employees, and eventually we got this office space upstairs, actually, before we had Mini Wargaming. Oh, actually, that was when we started Mini Wargaming. And so then I had to move. And then I started working at the office 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And that was a difficult transition for my wife because she was so used to me being home all the time. And it took quite a while, months, maybe even years, for her to fully get used to it. Now she's used to it now. So I try to keep everything separate. Like I remember the time when we finally decided to take a salary rather than just kind of see what we made that month and take some money from that. And there is a point where you have to kind of switch, especially once you incorporate. And that was nice because it felt like I had a stable income regardless of the instability of the business. Even if that income had to be changed from time to time, sometimes going up, sometimes going down. It just was nice to kind of have that steady paycheck to kind of somewhat rely on. And kind of, the business is going like this, but you have your income right there, rather than you just kind of taking a lot when it's high and a little when it's low and wondering what your next pay was going to be. It was rocky. There's times where I had to skip paychecks when things weren't going that well, or and all that stuff. But that's business. If you're going to start your own business, It's going to take you years to be semi-stable. In fact, I would say that last year, and that was 6 years into mini wargaming, was probably our first really good year. And that's 6 years in. We had okay years, and then we had hard years for the first few, but last year was our first really good year, 2014. 2013 was pretty good, but 2014 was definitely our best year to date, so I'm hoping that 2015 will be that way as well. So yeah, she's been very, very supportive of the whole thing. She hasn't really known any different, really, because, like I said, I've been doing this since before we were married, but officially in the same month that we got married. Mini Game Painter. Have you ever stopped a battle report because the opponent wasn't very nice or was too picky? Not to name them, but have you been like, this is not worth moving forward? No, I wouldn't do that. Most people travel to get here. There have been times, there's been certain people that I would never want to come back, but for the most part, people that come in are really good. Because they're coming in for the right reasons. There's very few people who come in thinking, I got to beat that guy. I just got to go in there and pound him with my awesome army. And we don't get that very often. And then, like 99% of the time, people are coming in because they think it'll be fun to be on video. They see us on YouTube. They think it would be kind of cool to meet us and play a game, and they're usually really good. Sometimes they'll bring hard lists, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, as long as we kind of are ready for it. Wrathburn. Hey Matt, not sure if this was answered in a previous video or not. I'm a new subscriber, but I'm just curious, do any of you at Mini Wargaming watch hockey? And if so, who are each of your favorite teams? Greetings, Mike from Kitchener. Well, I can't answer for everybody else because it's only me in this show. I don't watch hockey. I don't mind hockey. Growing up, my brothers, all three of them, but especially my oldest brother and then the one that's just younger than me, they both loved hockey, or they all loved hockey, and they were huge into it, and they were Toronto Maple Leaf fans, regardless of the fact that they never win. It's just, you know, you got the craziest fans with the Maple Leafs. Maybe it's the fact that they don't ever win that they have the craziest fans. That might actually be the reason, because it's just like they're psychologically prepared for it, and so then they're just ready. Well, maybe next year, maybe next year, maybe next year. But anyway, yeah, they were big hockey fans. So I watched hockey growing up, just here and there. I would always root for the underdog. I didn't really care who the teams were. I would come in halfway into the game, and if it was 2-0, I would root for the underdog, because it was always fun to watch a comeback. So I enjoy watching hockey, but I haven't watched it for a long time. Basically, ever since I moved out of my parents' house a long time ago, I stopped watching hockey because it was only whenever it was on, like my brothers were already watching it, and then I'd come in and sit down and watch it with them. Joshy Bear. Hi Matt, wanted to say I joined the vault just so I can watch Leland make more 6+ and vulnerable saves for his sisters in the Utgard Infestation campaign. I know, right? I've noticed in a couple of battle reports that you don't take a cover save with your swooping Hive Tyrant and say they can't. Where in the rulebook does it say that a swooping flying monsters creature can't take a cover save in area terrain or being 25% obscured? It would save me a lot of headaches with dealing with my friend's double Flyrant list. You know what? I guess there is no rule, and I should be taking cover saves, and sometimes I have. When I fly him, like he's inside a big building, I'll take a cover save. I guess for me, it's just abstracting the game, or not abstracting the game, actually looking at it like he's up in the air, so why would he get a cover save from those trees on the ground? But you're right, it doesn't say that, and so really, if he flies and he's in the midst of a forest, which is normally 5+ cover for anybody in it, then he technically should get a 5+ cover. It just feels weird. Like he's flying up in the air over a forest and he gets a cover save. I know you could, fluff-wise, you can explain anything either way. You could say, well, maybe they're shooting through the trees up to him, and that's giving him the cover, or whatever. So, but you're right. There is no rule that says it. You just actually look where the model is, which is interesting because some models, some flying monsters creatures are modeled to be up higher, like the Harpy and the Hive Crone. And then you got the flying Hive Tyrants who are modeled to more just look like jump flying monsters, or jump monsters creatures, because they're kind of on the ground, like they're taking off. And the same thing with flyers that can go into hover mode. They're often on large bases, but when they go into hover mode, you don't like all of a sudden go. They should have like these adjustable bases or 2 different bases where you like switch between the 2. But it's all abstracted, I guess. So you're right. You're totally right that I could be taking those cover saves. I don't know if I will though. I think I might just house rule that I won't, and I can do that because it's working against me, and so it's okay. But no, you're right though. Aegis. Twilight is never funny. No internets for you. Thanks, Leland. Doc Sleep. Hey, Matt. At first, a great compliment. I joined the vault for Primogenitor's Promise and I have been very satisfied. The Utgard Infestation narrative campaign was so much fun I can hardly describe it. Well, then you're going to like the next campaign. Well, not that you're not going to like the one that's going out right now, but Leland and I are actually filming another campaign right now. Just started this week. Now the thing that comes now is kind of a loaded question, and I don't know if you might have already answered it. I totally understand if you don't want to. So what do you think about homosexuality and the position of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints towards it? I have addressed that before, and I'm going to decline to address it because when I had been asked that question so many times that I finally said, okay, I'll just tell you what our position is. But that created a lot of rage comments. It's a very, 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 like religion is sensitive, but talking about religion and homosexuality is like, I don't know if there's much more, like something else that's much more sensitive than that on the internet. No matter which side you are on, or if you're on no side or whatever, pretty much any comment is going to create this big stir of problems. So I will gladly answer that question if you email me. Send me an email, matthew@miniwargaming.com, and I will let you know. And I will, on anybody who emails me that question, I will let you know, and just show you my position, and you won't necessarily agree with it, or maybe you will. I don't know. Just depends on your point of view as well. So that one's a little too charged. Like even I won't touch that publicly on this video, whereas I'll answer most religious questions publicly on this video. Zectorman. Matt, quick question. Was your World Engine campaign name borrowed from some of the lore? The only reason I asked is because of a brand new release within the Black Library entitled, you guessed it, The World Engine. It gets better. It's about a Space Marine chapter attacking the Necrons, wink wink, and they do so by crashing their battle barge into the thing, nudge nudge. Are you writing for GW under an anonymous moniker? It's either that or GW is watching you, Matt. Uh-oh, thanks for everything. I laughed so hard when I saw that comment because I've seen it, like I think you posted it on the forums as well or something. But I totally borrowed it from Games Workshop. It's actually in the Necron Codex. There's just the part of the Codex where it just kind of goes through the timelines and different little things that happen. There's this little tiny blurb talking about a World Engine and how a Space Marine barge had to basically blast their way through the void shields because their entire fleet was just getting destroyed by it and they couldn't penetrate the shields. So they flew a battle barge and crashed into it, and the Space Marines poured out. And basically the entire chapter was destroyed, killing this World Engine. So I totally took that idea from the Necron Codex. And it was even called a World Engine. And technically, according to the lore, and this is just only in like some spattered places, but a lot of worlds, a lot of the Necron Tomb worlds could become World Engines. I think a lot of them are in disrepair and so can't. But really it's just that the world all of a sudden just fires up these enormous engines and starts moving. Now, you know, sci-fi people, like people who like hard sci-fi, like really realistic stuff, just turn off your brain when you think about that for a second because it won't make any sense. But yeah, I took the idea from Games Workshop, not vice versa. The reason I laughed is because it's so funny when this has happened before. People have thought that Games Workshop took ideas from us. Like we started doing narrative campaigns last year, and then within a few months, Games Workshop started putting out narrative campaign supplements. And not that they've never done narrative campaign stuff before, but they haven't really done a lot of them. And then all of a sudden they start doing a lot of them. And we've been doing successful narrative campaigns. And so people are like, well, they saw that yours were so successful, so they started doing it. And, you know, there's a chance that that's true, but I highly doubt it. Like, I don't even think it at all. I think, yeah, I guess there's a chance, like very, very little chance. But Games Workshop is a big company, and they have lots of things in production all the time, sometimes way in advance, months in advance, sometimes even a year or two in advance. Their production schedule obviously is subject to change up until a certain period, and I don't know exactly how their business model works for all of that. But they plan the stuff way in advance. And so if you see something released within a short period of time after we do something, the likelihood of it being influenced at all by what we did is incredibly small. And we're not that big a company. Like we're the biggest YouTube channel in this market, but that's like looking at a puddle and seeing a goldfish and being like, that's a big fish, but it's a puddle, so it doesn't matter. This is a small market, and so the fact that we have the biggest YouTube channel, yeah, I'm happy that we're doing well with it, and we are doing well. But at the same time, we're just half a dozen people. Games Workshop has thousands of employees, so the chances of us influencing what they're doing is not huge. But who knows? Who knows? Mexicant DPS. Hey Matt, I was wondering how you store your Hierophant. I'm looking into getting, but I'm a little unnerved by its sheer size. Is yours pinned, magnetized? Please tell me. Well, the legs are definitely they need to be pinned because they're totally useless. Store it, I just stick it on top of our shelves. You see, we rarely transport our miniatures. In fact, we do it once a year going to Valhalla, basically. Other than that, it all stays here in the studio. So we store things in cardboard trays, and the stuff that's too big for that, because we have shelves about this tall, like tons of shelves this tall, where all the miniatures are stored. And on the very top shelves, and we have some other large shelves, that's where we put the big stuff, like the Imperial Knight Titans, and or the Hierophants, or all that kind of stuff. That's where we put it. But it is a good idea to like magnetize his arms, but I don't know how you would store it if you didn't have as much space as we did. Also, do you think Chris is a mini wargaming painting god who should demand daily tribute in the form of paint pots, brushes, models, and versions from his followers? Thank you for all your vids you put out. I don't know. He'd probably say yes. Soul Destroyer. Hey, Matt. Sorry about the name. Couldn't use the other one, Rage Lord. It's okay, Soul Destroyer. This is 40K. So anyway, back to the question. What is your email? I already answered that a couple times. For I need to talk to you about some religion. Sorry if that sounded rude. No, not at all. But I'm currently not believing in a religion, but I can't handle the thought of there being no life beyond this one. Yeah, Matthew@miniwargaming.com. Send me your questions. Now, another note about religious questions. I don't respond to those emails incredibly quickly because I like to have enough time to respond to them well. And so I don't just like get them and then quickly respond like I do most of my other emails. So if you send me an email, it might take up to a week to get a response. But don't worry, I respond to every single one, assuming it doesn't go to my junk folder or something. P.S. Congratulations on the little one. Thank you. P.P.S. I'm thinking the reason they changed the base size of the Space Marines is because they're currently on the same base size as Imperial Guard. And in the fluff, they are like 2 times the size of a Guardsman. Yeah, scaling is off. 40K does not have consistent scaling. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so necessarily, because it just might be hard in some cases, because they like to have heroic scale is what it's called, where things are kind of out of proportion or very out of proportion. So is that why they changed the base size? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the reason behind it. Smeraman76. Hey Matt, my buddy plays Eldar and takes a Sky Shield landing pad and puts a bunch of barrage artillery pieces and a Wraith Knight, the big one, on top and makes it invisible. I play Blood Angels, I am new. What does one do? One gets a new buddy, because the moment that somebody is just doing that kind of cheese combo is the moment that everybody else playing them is going to stop having fun, especially when he's always going for invisibility, which is, in my opinion, something that should actually be removed from 40K. Like, I almost want to put a house rule in that says that spell, that psychic power is not allowed, because it is totally stupid and breaks the game. And I don't think flyers break the game. I don't think there's so many other things that other people say break the game. I don't agree because of the way we play the game. But even friendly invisibility is just dumb. So if he's doing that and he's found this perfect combo and he just does that over and over again, then you need to talk to him about changing his army, because it's not fun playing stupid lists like that, especially over and over. Once I can see, like, or being like, hey, see if you can find something to beat this. And so you're like, okay, but it's just stupid. So everybody on there will have their 4-up invuln, and you have to snap fire against them or hit them on 6s in close combat, except getting in close combat will be hard because they're up. And yeah, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. So unless you bring that, well, even then, there's that one assassin. Is it the Calidus assassin? It's the one that basically has a 12-inch bubble, that if in that 12-inch bubble, it removes blessings and maledictions. So if you get it within 12 inches of that, then they can't be invisible. But then there's still the 4-up invuln, and there's still the fact that they're Eldar. UK's Deadhead. Hi, Matt. Do you like the White Scars? Yeah, I think they're a really cool chapter. Also, can you do more bat reps with them, please? They're my favorite chapter. I would, but we only have that one army. Like, it's basically 2,000 or 3,000 points, so there wouldn't be much variety. So that's why you don't see them very much. What is your opinion on Genghis Khan? Bit of random question. Don't really know much about him to have an opinion. But I think most people forgot about him in history, even when his empire was 2 times bigger than the Romans. Thanks, Matt. Keep up the good work. Yeah, I know who he is, but I don't know much about him. Mangy Forest Cat. All these bleepity bleep noobs asking for explanation on Mormonism. They are a bunch of bleepity morons. They believe, okay. All right. So Mangy Forest Cat, thankfully he got a bunch of negative like downvotes. So that's probably the first time, maybe the second, but probably the first time I've seen somebody just outright put hatred in comments on my sit and talk. So on Mini Wargaming. On YouTube it happens, but that's YouTube. So Mangy Forest Cat, congratulations. You are the first person to show an outward hatred towards somebody else in my comments. Everybody else who's disagreed with me have done so in a way that, you know, they're like, yeah, I disagree with you. And then we talk about it kind of thing. So sorry, not going to be responding to your question, nor will I be reading any more of it. In fact, I'll probably be removing you from our site, because if you can't control yourself like that, then I don't want to see what your comments are going to be like everywhere else. So I'm going to just write that down. So I do that right after I finish recording this. Mangy Forest Cat. Just for everybody else, I have no problem with you disagreeing with my religion. I understand that a lot of people will. Not only do a lot of people just disagree with religion, period, but even people within religion will disagree with each other's religion. And that's totally acceptable. One of our facets of our beliefs is that everybody has the right to believe what they want to believe, assuming it doesn't like cause physical harm to somebody else. Like, I believe that I'm supposed to kill everybody. That's what, you know, obviously that's not what I mean. I just mean like how you want to worship, who you want to worship, if you want to worship. Those are your choices. It's a fundamental part of it, just that freedom of choice. And so when people are intolerant about just like that, and it is one thing to, you know, sometimes we have to share our opinions and public policy and all that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. This is just, when you get intolerant like that, that to me is just, it doesn't matter what you believe or don't believe. Like, it's just, that's not the way we should treat each other. So I am disappointed, Mangy Forest Cat. The Emerald Knight 15. Hey Matt, I have looked into if a gene stealer could infect Space Marines. It doesn't seem possible because of their implants. But if you somehow could make a story where the gene seed pool from the chapter is infected by a gene stealer virus, it might work. Could a gene stealer infect a Space Marine? The answer is yes. Then the reason for that is because it's 40K. And really you can find a reason for anything to happen. Now, if we kind of just step back for a second and say, given the current fluff, is it possible? The likelihood is that it wouldn't succeed because Space Marine physiology is just so resistant to a lot of these things. But like even, well, I don't know if that's a spoiler alert, but in the second Horus Heresy book, even the Primarch was affected by something. And it was like, even they were like, he shouldn't be affected by this because he's the Primarch, which is the difference between a normal person and a Space Marine. That's also the difference between a normal Space Marine and a Primarch. Like, it's just a huge jump in physiology. So if they can insert into the fluff something that would affect a Primarch that normally shouldn't affect a Primarch, then I would say, sure, that Tyranids could figure it out. This is Tyranids you're talking about. Like, in order for them to be able to accomplish what they've accomplished, they should be able to assimilate any kind of thing. And they should be able to adapt to almost any situation to have survived as long as they did. So I would say definitely it would be able to happen. It's just not likely. It would be cool if the Mini Wargaming chapter was old allies with the chapter, but then suspicion arises because of a Tyranid-related lie or something, and it would make a truly awesome Tyranid versus Marine campaign. Sincerely, me. P.S. What does the Mini Wargaming chapter Mini MWG stand for? I think I missed it. We don't have an official name for them, actually. I just call them the Mini Wargaming chapter, meaning like our chapter. But I'm going to be probably retconning them through a time travel campaign in the future, just because I'm not liking where they went, and I want to kind of redo their story. But I'm going to do it without removing their story. I'm just going to kind of do a Star Trek time travel thing. XYZ Dude Zero. Hey Matt, I noticed that you guys are building up a lot of your armies, and my question is, do you have a guardsman army? We have an enormous guardsman army. Because when we did the Utgard infestation, or no, the Storms of Ixia, I just went on eBay and I posted I wanted guards armies, and I got like 5 or 6 people that sold me relatively large guards armies. Now that does mean that they don't have a lot of the new stuff, and so I could really bulk it up with all of that. And it also means that they're all sorts of different colors, but it's guard, so that has actually, there's the one army where you can just have them be of tons of different colors, and you could say, well, this is from this regiment, this is from this regiment, this is from this regiment, from this planet, and it kind of works. So yeah, we have tons of guardsmen. In fact, you've seen a lot of them, not in individual battle reports, but in narrative campaigns. We use them in Storms of Ixia. I use a lot of them in Utgard Infestation. We're using them in the current campaign with Grey Knights and Tau and Demons. And so yeah, we do have a lot of Guardsmen. How big is it, you ask? I don't know. I don't even know if I could guess. Like maybe 15, 20,000? But it's really hard to know because I've never really tallied it. There's a lot of stuff. Basically, there's enough stuff that I don't need more of, like Leman Russes and Chimeras and Guardsmen and special weapons teams and heavy weapons teams. What we could use more of is, like I said, new stuff. But other than that, yeah, we've got tons of it. Love the videos and website. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Here's Heresiarch. Hey Matt, love what you guys do. When you all finally retire or expire, your fans will make sure you are properly reinstated as servitors to continue your service to the Emperor. That would be horrible. That would be bad. That's the one thing about, I just kind of try to forget about servitors so I can keep thinking about the Imperium as the good guys. Because the servitors and the fact that they like eat psychers for their Astronomicon is the two things that kind of make them questionable. There's a lot of other things too, but those two to me are like servitors. It's like reserved, like in Half-Life, how the Combine like took humans and like take off their limbs and replaced them with these mechanical things. Like that was horrid, and it was like what the bad guys did, and that's what servitors are. So no, I don't want to be a servitor. That's not in my will. A few things. First, on the last talk, there was a question about psychic powers and chaos psychic focus. I'm sure you've been bugged about this already, but the rules are as follows. Yeah, I know I got that a little wrong, so I'm not going to read all of it just because it'll take a while. Second, from the main rule book, in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter and the laughter of the thirsty gods. Therefore, please feature more Dark Eldar. Would love to see more of my house team. But we don't have a Dark Eldar army, so we rely on somebody to come in for that. But the more I've read about the Dark Eldar campaigns like Valador and stuff, I think I could fit them into a narrative campaign. I know Casp, I said I wouldn't. But it wouldn't be like featuring the Dark Eldar and like going there and going through all the stuff that they do, because it just gets a little grimdark beyond 40k, which is saying something. But it might be more like in Valador, where the Eldar need the Dark Eldar allies, and the Dark Eldar are like, they're still twisted, and they're like, well, you're gonna have to sacrifice yourselves to this thing to destroy the planet. But they still come in and help, so you have this Dark Eldar alliance. And so we might do something like that, where they're more like part of the story without getting hugely into their fluff. So it is possible to do that. Lastly, to the poor guy from Russia who sounded like he needs an advocate, buy the fake models. In the case of pirating a game or a piece of music, you're an expletive deleted. Support content that you enjoy. They need your money to make it happen. But morality is never best served by taking an absolute stance. We have to look at moral questions on a case-by-case practical basis, because morality is about what happens to real people in real life, not some ideal that may be great in theory but causes suffering in practice. Therefore, in this case, if you're absolutely unable to afford more models, buy the fakes. You're still supporting Games Workshop by loving their products and buying whatever you can from them. That being said, if this case doesn't apply to you, never buy fake models. Games Workshop is not the financial powerhouse most of us assume these big companies are, and Matt is absolutely right. They really do need your money to make the stuff you love. It's unethical to steal it from them. If you love it and must have it, take the time and effort to make your own. They did. File members for life. While I don't agree with you, I still read it, and people can take it as you like. I don't think morality is situational. Let me just put it that way. But at the same time, that is an entire philosophical argument, and that would take a while to do. What it comes down to is sometimes it just sucks. Sometimes life isn't fair, and we can't change our morals to try to make it fair, if that makes sense. We could try to change things in the world. We should have an influence on the world around us to influence it for good. But yeah. Role-playing gamer. Hi Matt, I want this to be a short question because I usually leave long ones, but I have some Tyranid Christmas questions. I've got a Wrath of the Hive Mind under the tree, along with some Hiveguard kit. I was thinking Shooty Hiveguard, Barb Strangler. Hiveguard don't get Barb Stranglers. Are you talking about warriors? With Tyrant Guard escorting, the Tyrant Guard escorting him, tanking all the damage. Okay, you're talking about a Hive Tyrant. Hive Tyrants, if you're talking about like the best way to kit them out, it seems that most people agree, at least in tournament kind of style thing, it's a winged Hive Tyrant with 2 Twin Link Devours, maybe like a Desiccator Larva thing so that you have that Haywire and also the Overwatch. And that's usually about it. And that's usually the tournament one, and usually you have double Flyrants. I don't typically do that because it is very powerful, and also because it gets boring seeing the same thing over and over again. But that's like the best kit. There's a lot of different ways to use your Hive Tyrants, but that's if you're looking for the best way to kit them out. Wings, double Devours. Barb Strangler, his heavy Barb Strangler, it's kind of useless. It's a large blast, strength 6. It's very situational, but having 12 twin link strength 6 shots is usually a good catch-all situation. It's good against infantry. It's good against light to medium vehicles. It's just good in general. So, P.S. I play for fun, so I don't really care about points costs. Thanks and happy wargaming. Naglaref, hey Matt, thank you very much for answering my questions. I finally decided to come from Europe to see you guys. What's the email address I can use to set up battle reports? You can email me, Matthew@miniwargaming.com. Unless you know that there's like one day you're coming in and so you want to play against Dave, then Dave@miniwargaming.com. But just email me and tell me what you want to do, and we'll try to set it up. Give us as much notice as you can, though. At least a month or two, because our schedule fills up pretty fast. Asayon24, hey Matt, I'm just double checking, so bear with me if this seems like a stupid question. I'm just getting into Warhammer 40k tabletop, and I was wondering with the Space Marines Codex, if I was to start playing as Dark Angels, would I need both the Space Marine Codex and the Dark Angels Codex, or just the Dark Angels Codex? Just the Dark Angels Codex. Every army basically only has one codex. Now, they might have some supplements as well, but the Space Marine Codex is for the vanilla Space Marine chapters, like Ultramarines, Iron Fists, Salamanders, Black Templar, that kind of stuff. And then you have Dark Angels, Grey Knights, Space Wolves, Blood Angels, I think are the 4 others. But their codexes are complete. They have everything that you need in them. Unless there's stuff in supplements that might happen later on. But you don't need the Space Marine Codex and the Dark Angels Codex. Domino's Fleet. Hey Matt, did you see that the new Space Hulk is 50% off right now on Steam? I remember you doing videos on the first one and I really enjoyed them, so I was hoping you'd do videos on this one too. I did not see that. Not really interested. I played through a bunch of them. They had sent me the codes to play through them. I made some videos, but it's fun. But it gets kind of boring after a while because it's very repetitive. And yeah, it's sometimes the interface isn't the best. So I'd give that game like, I don't know, 60 to 70%. I think is what I said. Like 70% if you've played Space Hulk before, so you can kind of get past the interface. If you've never had any. If you've never played 40k, didn't know what 40k was, and was playing the game Space Hulk, I'd give it more like a 40 to 50% because you would just get frustrated by it. It wouldn't get a lot of what it's trying to do and all the rolls in the corner. Paint check. Hello, Matt. What was your biggest whoops, or mistake you made while playing? Biggest mistake while playing? I don't know. I've made plenty of mistakes. I don't mean just rules mistakes, which I made those too. But there's been things where I like do something and then people go and then I'm like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that, or I forgot to move that. So I'm sorry, I don't have like the biggest blunder kind of moment that it really comes to mind. Thanks and Happy New Year. Vault member till the next movement phase. I tried, LOL. Happy New Year to you too, and everybody else. I guess I should have said it at the beginning. Blackfire0193. Hi Matt, I'm a new Tyranid player, and I'm having trouble taking out tanks or armor. Join the club, the Tyranid Club. I know you have done your Shadows of the Warp series again since the new units came out, but I was wondering what you would recommend since the armies I have to go up against is Imperial Guard, Tau, and Necrons. Thanks and congratulations on the baby girl. My army list is a Flyrant, 3 Carnifexes, 60 Hormagaunts and Termagaunts, 1 Turbogon, 3 Warriors, and 1 Toxic Green. Well, first off, accept the fact that the Tyranids have a hard time against armor. Now, having said that, if you're looking for the best units anti-armor, well, there's a few things. One is Hive Guard are a must-take, and not the ones with the shock cannon thingies that are haywire blast. Those things are useless. I'm talking about just the regular Hive Guard with their ignoring cover, strength 8 shots. Those are pretty good. They'll be good against light and medium vehicles. Against light vehicles, we don't have a problem because, you know, everybody can take out armor 10 or 11. That's not a big deal. Flyrants with 2 Twin Link Devours are actually pretty good at taking out most vehicles because most vehicles have a rear armor of no better than 10, maybe 11, like a lot of Necron vehicles or some Lehman Russes. And so you can fly behind them, and because you have a 360-degree arc, you don't have to worry about which way you're facing. You just hit them with 12 twin link shots. Since you're hit on 3+, most of your 12 shots will hit. And so all of a sudden you're glancing. You're taking off hull points in 5s or 6s. So that's really good as well. So Hive Guard, Flyerants with 2 twin link devours are good. So those are called, yeah, those are the DACA Flyerants, I guess you can call them. Hormagaunts with adrenal glands are pretty decent. Because most vehicles have rear armor 10, they can charge and they can do a lot of glancing hits because they'll have 3 attacks on the charge, and they'll be hitting on 3s and then glancing on 6s, so they can do some damage there. The Exocrine isn't too bad, strength 7, AP 2, but it's not your best bet. We have Electroshock Grubs. That's the Thorax weapon, which is a Haywire template. That's not bad either. You can equip a few of your Tranifexes or even your Hive Tyrant with the 2 twin link devours. Could also take that just in case he wants to. This is like a vehicle squadron and you can cover like 3 of them. Then you pretty much inflicted 3 hull points because it's on 2+. So that's not bad. Let me see what else. Close combat, we don't have too much of a problem. You give Carnifexes Crushing Claws, or you get the Harrowspecs, or you get a Hive Tyrant with Tyrant Guard with Crushing Claws. Crushing Claws are your way in, basically, because they all have Armor Bane. So in close combat, we can, like a Carnifex with Crushing Claws and Scything Talons is actually a good match for an Imperial Knight in close combat, but especially if you have 2 of them. But it's hard to get into close combat in Warhammer 40K. So yeah, and there's a lot of strategies you can kind of use, the way you position your guys. There's also things like ignoring certain targets and just going for objectives. Depends on the scenarios that you're playing as well. So there's a lot of tactics we can get into that. So that hopefully that's enough just to kind of get you started. Halo Russell 777. Who love Chaos Space Marines, especially Thousand Suns? But besides that, what Chaos Space Marines units do you dread to face? Who loves Chaos Space Marines? Well, Dave does. Especially Thousand Suns. He has Thousand Suns. I don't think he uses it very often. But besides that, what Chaos Space Marines units do you dread to face? Chaos Space Marines? I don't really dread to face at all. Chaos Demons, then you get a problem when all of a sudden you have like your warp charging spam, or their flying monstrous creatures can be difficult. Those ones are harder. Jonathan Hieronymus. Hey Matt, I love the narrative campaigns and would love to know how to build an awesome campaign myself. Well, it's going to be different for building it for you and your friends. We build it together, like the player and I actually work together on coming up with ideas, and then we work together on building our armies. So we make sure that we actually tailor to each other's armies to make sure it'll be a good fight, or we try the best we can. Whereas when you're making a narrative campaign amongst your friends, you're going to want to go for more balance and fairness and all that kind of stuff. So it's different. So I don't know if telling you how we do ours would really help you with yours, unless you're planning on recording them like we do. But maybe one day, maybe give you another year, and then I'll make like a series of videos on how we make narrative campaigns, because I'm still learning. Like every campaign I do, I learn new tips and tricks, things that I carry forward, and I think I'm getting much better at them since I first started. How do you translate what's happening in a story to what happens on the tabletop? Really what it comes down to is the tabletop, for our narrative campaigns, the battle report has to be a chunk of the bigger story. Otherwise, it can really throw things off. That's one of the things I've learned. If you make the battle report too pivotal, then you don't know how it's going to go. The dice could probably throw it off, like, and you could have a problem. Like you need the story in order for the story to advance, you needed one side to win, and then they lost, the story can't advance properly. And so you need to make it so that that's not the case. So that can be tricky. Daniel TMU, thank you for answering my question. You're welcome, Daniel. Vault member for life, or until Mini Wargaming gets its own television network. Dr. Marmalade, greetings from Nottingham, UK. Quick religious question. Wow, I got like 3 or 4 of those in this one. That's more than usual. I don't know much about the Mormon faith. The only exposure I have to Christianity is the people outside the churches who scream at the top of their lungs about how Jesus Christ is our Savior, etc., and basically try and shove religion down our throats. I was always under the impression that religion was a choice. That is correct. Why are these people trying to force it on us? And is standing outside a church screaming Bible passages a regular thing with Mormons? No, it's not. There's other churches that do that, but we don't typically do that. Hope I haven't offended anybody, as it wasn't my intent. Keep up the good work. Phone number when I get home from my casino job. Well, first off, you just mention the word religion, somebody's going to be offended. So you probably offended somebody, but we just try to present this with as much tact as possible. Why do people try to shove their religion down your throats? Or maybe I should just scale that question a bit. Why do people even try to convert you to their religion, if religion is a choice? The answer to that question is actually quite simple. Hopefully, for most people, they believe that what they have, the beliefs that they have, can help you to be happy. And part of those beliefs is sharing it with others so that they can be happy as well. And so that's the motivation, hopefully, behind it. That's not always going to be the case, obviously, but that is, I think, in pure religion, and that's the case, where I share it because this makes me happy, and I want to share it with you. It's kind of like if you see a really good movie, you can't help but want to tell other people about it, because you want to share that because you liked it, and you want other people to be able to go and enjoy a movie because you know how hard it is to find a good movie, or a good book, or a good computer game, or whatever happens to be. You share things that help you. At least most people do. And so it's the same idea. Same idea. But since religion is such a weighted topic, people have a harder time with it. You know, if I told you I really liked this movie, you should go see it, hardly anybody would be offended, if anybody. Unless there's like some really offensive material in the movie itself. But I say, hey, this religion makes me happy, you should check it out. All of a sudden, a lot of people get offended, even though it's actually a similar thing, obviously with a little bit more weight behind it. So we don't stand outside our church yelling and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to deride the people that do. We just don't do that. So, but hopefully that is the motivation behind what they're trying to do. Gab, hi. Do you like Pokemon, Matt? No. Does Dave like Pokemon? I don't think so. Does Chris like Pokemon? I don't know. Does Steve like Pokemon? Don't think so, but I don't know. Does Ash like Pokemon? Not sure. Bye. Bye, Gab. Mandelcore. Matt, the Russian questioner from your last talk, was referencing the intense trade sanctions of Western goods imposed on Russia due to their government's involvement in Ukraine, not international business prices when asking about recast. It was also a little about the rampant inflation caused by the sanctions by extension. This wasn't actually a question, just a little bit of a background of a previously asked question which might change your point of view. It doesn't change my point of view. It does suck, though. I agree. When a government puts, like, I think it's so funny that all these different countries have to, like, say, for example, when I see, one thing I don't agree with, and somebody might really disagree with this here, is when I see advertisements saying, buy local. You know, because you need to support there's like this thing, it's like if everybody made one less shopping trip to the States, then that would support more of our local economy. It's like, well, you could, by extension, you could keep shrinking that. It's like, why buy in Canada? If I buy from British Columbia, which is pretty much, like if you're in Europe, the distance between Ontario and British Columbia is several countries away. And so I could say, I'm not going to buy from British Columbia because then all our money goes over there when we need it here for our jobs. And then, okay, once we stay in Ontario, I can say, well, I'm not going to buy from Toronto. That's 2 hours away. So my money's not staying in my local economy, so I'm only going to buy from Welland. While I'm at it, I should only buy from my local neighborhood. While I'm at it, I should only buy from my family. It's like, it's everybody's people, right? Everybody's a person, no matter what country they're in. And so I know that our economy is a weird thing, and it's very, very imperfect, and it can get abused and all of that. But trying to dissuade somebody to buy from another country, like you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. And I know somebody's going to disagree, and they're going to have a good reason for it. And that's why it's a big topic of tariffs and stuff. But one thing I really wish is I wish that at least between Canada and the United States, which, you know, come on, like we're side by side, that there's none of these stupid tariffs or duty when you go across the border. You just buy from whichever country, and just kind of let it be like that, and that's fine. And just kind of allow the economy to settle itself. I guess I don't like governments meddling too much with the economy. And I know that there will be people that disagree with that, obviously. If you're more on the liberal side, then like strong liberal side, then you're going to agree that the government should. If you're more on the conservative side, you're going to agree the government shouldn't. And I guess I'm leaning more towards the conservative side there. Not in all things, by the way. I'm not just a staunch conservative. So it does suck that the Russian government does have those sanctions for whatever reason it happens to be. Because it does affect the people and what they can do and what they can get, and it affects inflation, and it affects, you know, it's a problem. But it doesn't change my point of view. If I gave an example, if all of a sudden food 10-tupled in price, it doesn't all of a sudden change the morality that allows you to go and steal food. And I know you could say, well, this is different because they're not actually stealing from Games Workshop, they're getting recast. It's the same argument that pirators use for buying pirated software. I'm not actually taking money from the company because I would have bought it anyways. Whatever. It's just the same thing. It's morality is morality. Good and bad are good and bad. It's not. There's not like it's not changing morals based on situation. So, and once again, I know people will disagree with that, and you are allowed to. And if you do, then that's okay. Xeno Psych. Oh, I got a lot of questions about this. Dear Matt, thank you for answering my Yo-Yo Mart on models no longer in print question a few weeks back. Let me see it in a different way. I would also like to congratulate you and your wife with having your daughter safely. Thank you. Now to my question or suggestion. I just finished painting the panos of the Infinity starter set, but I am looking to try a different starter army set besides the Nomads. My problem is finding playstyle descriptions of them, aka 40k equal would be tower shooty mech with laser pointers, or Necrons being reviving Egyptian Terminators to Arno kind. I think it would be nice to have either a quick FAQ-like video or even a full video done by you guys explaining the quick fluff and general playstyle of the armies. Now in Infinity you have a little less diversity between the armies, which is both a good and a bad thing. 40k there's like usually a pretty strong distinction between each of them. But Infinity, they even share like the same weapons, mostly. It's more like this faction has more hackers. This faction has more TO camo. This faction is a little better ballistic skill. But in the end, it's a shooty game. Everybody's a shooty army. Unlike 40k, where you have some that are more heavy on the close combat and some that are more heavy on the shooty and some in the middle. Infinity is a shooty game. You have very little close combat in the game. So a lot of the armies play similarly, but this with slightly different styles. So what I would do instead is base which one you want to do next off of its visuals. So in that we don't have to make a video about. You just go onto the Infinity website and you kind of go through their factions. So that's what I would choose based on. And then within that, learn the good army list, start there, and then start expanding and playing that way. Crownblade, hi Matt. When will we see the Warm Hordes campaign? By the time you've watched this, you've already seen some episodes. I'm asked not because I'm particularly interested in Warm Hordes, but more because it is in the works, and I hope that after it's completed, you guys will hopefully make a Warhammer Fantasy Battle campaign. That's not really how it works here. It's not that we finish doing War Machine and then we do Fantasy. Everything's done simultaneously. So the Fantasy campaign is more reliant on us having a bit more manpower to do that, because right now all of our production time is taken up in doing what we do. So, but we're still hoping, I'm hoping that by like the first or end of the first quarter at least of 2015, we'll have our first Fantasy campaign, but we'll see. Wilhelm Screamer, on the subject of board and card games, it would be sort of neat to see you guys play Fantasy Flight Games Warhammer Conquest for a one-off video. Or not, that's fine too. No crazy initialism, not acronym, they are different things. I'm a big fan, here is to many years of fine content. Ultimentra, in Canada, milk comes in bags? Yeah, they come in like these 1.5 liter bags that you then, we have these special jugs that you then plunk the bag into, and then you snip the corner and then you can pour it out. I like it because, well, when you're done with it, it's a little bit of garbage rather than this big jug. I know you can recycle the jug, but it just takes up more space. Obviously, I like bags more, but I've grown up with them, so other people find it strange. I don't know why we have it in bags. There might be a history behind it that you can wiki or something, but I'm not sure. Holt, I wish that you would put up a slide in between questions that states the question you're about to answer, or if you overlaid the question onto the scene. You know how much extra editing that would take? You know how, like, okay, I record this for an hour, and then I put it onto my computer, which takes a few minutes, but I do other stuff while it's doing that. Then I open it up in Sony Vegas Movie Studio, which takes it about 5 minutes to kind of pre-render the video, but while it's doing that, I do something else. And then I put the clips together, which takes me 10 seconds. I overlay the logo, another 10 seconds, and I edit the beginning and the end, another 5 seconds. What is that, 25 seconds of editing? And then I spend another 15 seconds hitting make movie and choosing the settings and go. And then I walk away. So you're talking about going from less than a minute worth of work after this hour is done to probably an hour or two of work. So, nah. All right. When you answer a question that I have no interest in hearing, I just want to skip to the next question, but I can't really do so because I don't know when the next one starts. I know. And people would love if I actually had, like, in the description as well, all of the times of each of the questions. But when you only get like a few thousand views on a video, it's not really worth putting that much extra time into it. When we're kind of, when you look at all the polish of that kind of stuff, when you make a video, if you want to get 90% of the way there, then you make sure you have good lighting, which is half decent here. You make sure you have good audio, which is pretty easy. I just clip on my microphone. You make sure you have good interactive content. But that gets you most of the way there. If you all those extra stuff that you want to do, only add a little bit to the video. Now you might think, well, I'd love it even more. But I'm talking about like from a business point of view, seeing how many viewers you have, how many people sign up for Vault memberships, all that kind of stuff, like view through rates. Yeah, they'd go up, but you're so far along the way there from just getting this far that if I had like 100,000 people watching this every time, or 500,000, then sure, it would make sense that, you know, that extra 10% is a lot of extra people or a lot of extra Vault signups or whatever. But when you're dealing with a small number of people that we do, and our production times and all that, I've got a bunch of other videos I got to make today. I don't want to spend an hour editing this video. I want to spend an hour getting the story times done for my 40K narrative campaign. So that's kind of the mentality I have here. We don't have an infinite amount of resources, so we have to kind of cut corners where most people won't care about those corners. Even though they'd love for those corners to be there, they're okay with them not, or they'll survive without them. Towcat, hey Matt, I'm new to Warhammer 40K and I have a very few models. Do you have any tips on collecting? Yes, collect what you want. Don't be a power gamer. The end. Tempest, 1989. Hey Matt, congratulations on the birth of your new daughter. Thank you. My youngest was born on the 14th of December. Well, congratulations to you too, Tempest, 1989. More Eldar and Tyranid bat reps. That is all. Vault member as soon as funds become available. All right, got a few more minutes here. Static Blur. Hey Matt, I play Tyranids and I want some advice on what I should get. I have a Tyranid, a Hive Tyrant, 3 Biovores, 24 Hormagaunts, 24 Termagants, 6 Warriors, 4 Venom Throats, 2 Carnifexes. I know I need more Gaunts and I'm working on it, but what else would you recommend? Thanks, and Vault member for life. Hive Guard, more Warriors. 6 is not enough. Yeah, more Gaunts. Termagants, Rygons, Molochs are good. Another Hive Tyrant. There's a good place to start. Eridosin, did Dave ever find out if the Heldrick lost Torrent? Came up in the last Round of Chaos for the end. Thank you for your help, Matt, or anyone. I don't know, actually. Oh, and then we have another nice comment from Mangy Forest Cat. Yeah, definitely deleting all his comments and banning him from the site. Billy Capgun, 37. Hey Matt, been a Vault member for a few months and I'm loving it. Anyway, have you guys ever considered making a mini wargaming app for Apple and Android? I've been asked this question before, and the answer is yes, we've considered it. Probably won't happen for a while because what the app would basically do is all a mobile website would basically do, which is, you know, allow you to watch our videos. And we can also achieve that by making our website more mobile friendly. So that's more, I know it's not exactly the same. An app would be nice, but the problem is it costs a lot of money to make an app, and then you have to maintain it. You have to keep updating it and all of that. And so we don't really have the funds, the resources to do that. But one day we probably will. Fat Cat 3390. Hey Matt, I initially found mini wargaming watching your Necron bat reps, then a narrative campaigns locked down my Vault membership and is now one of my weekly highlights. Well, thank you. Unlike most players, I didn't enter the 40K fandom by playing the miniatures game or reading the books. I really entered it watching and then joining in a Death Watch campaign and later an Only War campaign. So I guess my question is like this. Have you ever thought of converting some of your narrative campaign missions or writing some from scratch modules for these games? There's a distinct lack of content overall for them, and if you could get whatever approval you need to sell them, I would gladly pay to get copies. Well, I'll never get approval from Games Workshop to do anything like that. They'll never license out that kind of stuff, especially to a company like us. Maybe if we were a big company, they would license it out, like how they license out stuff to Fantasy Flight for board games and all of that. As for modules and stuff, we have a lot of work to do just with our narrative campaigns, so I think we have a lot more area to explore within just making custom missions and all that. So probably won't be touching that other stuff anytime soon. Zoltan6. Hello, Matt. Does a Tyranid Maleceptor only get to choose one other power from powers of the Hive Mind? For psychic powers, the rules say that the Psyker entry will usually state how many psychic powers the Psyker has, which most of the time results in choosing as many powers as its mastery level. For the Maleceptor, it has a power unique to itself, and then it regenerates its remaining powers from the powers of the Hive Mind. Well, the word remaining kind of makes the assumption that you're remaining. And when do you have a remainder? You have a remainder when you subtract, or sorry, when you divide, actually. But still, if you're saying remaining, like if I say he's got 2 powers, and he knows this power, and you can take your remaining powers from the powers of the Hive Mind, I guess you could argue that there's still 2 powers he could take, but that's, to me, that doesn't seem like that's what it's reading. If you look at a part compared to someone who automatically chooses a power from the discipline, it says choose one more or choose two more. This leads me to believe that Psychic Overload does not count as a power choice. To me, this is how the rules are intended. I don't agree. I think, just like the Zone Thropes, how they're Warp Charge 2 and they know Warp Blast and one other. I know Warp Blast is one of the powers of the Hive Mind, but it specifically says to choose another one. I think the Maliceptor is the same way. But who knows? The FAQ might change that. And my time is up. Thank you very much for your comments. Well, most of you. There's one person not very thankful for the comments, but I'll take care of that in a moment. By the time you're watching this, they will already be gone. But thank you very much for watching and for all of your interaction. And I do appreciate the interaction we get in the show and the awesome comments and questions. Thank you for your support, especially if you're a Vault member. But even if you're not a Vault member, still thank you for your support. Just leaving questions, viewing our videos is a form of support as well. So thanks for watching and happy wargaming.